So I'm starting out basing in the heart. And I've decided that this card is going to be kind of a monotone, just a purple and pink. Well, monotone would be one color, but I'm going to keep it purples and pinks. And so I base the heart in and then I put a drop shadow on the edge. And now I'm basing in the flower middles with a lighter purpley color. I'm mixing a little bit darker purple, and I will be painting areas that aren't touching previously painted areas so that I can keep painting and not ruin the flower next to it. Mixing up an even darker color for this flower because I still want contrast. I'm using the same tone, purple tone. I'm just adding more purple, more pink, a little bit of white. So now I'll be doing the line on top, and I want to vary this, but I don't want to add another color, so I'm painting areas, and then I'm going to use the color that's already there with water and spread out the color with just water on my brush or a little bit of paint from that same area. I don't like how the drop shadow's looking, so I tried to smooth it out before it was real dry and bring in a little bit of light by rinsing off my brush and then cleaning it. I try a Q-tip. This usually works really well, but for some reason it was not working, so I go back and get my brush. So if you want to lift an area, you can always try a Q-tip. Because it's dry, sometimes it'll lift it back to white, but if some paper it doesn't respond to. Now I made a little bit pinker purple that it's a bright light purple, and I'm adding that to the flowers. And the flowers are still wet, so I still can't touch it next to another color yet, but I will in a little while. I'm going to go ahead and I got a paper towel so that I could rinse my brush better. And now I'm going to go I'm just evening out the color with a wet brush since I'm painting kind of fast here. Now I'm mixing kind of a mid color, and I'm looking to see if anything is dry enough for me to paint, which it really wasn't. So I added a little bit more white to that, and I'm going to do the bottom of the card with a really light purpley color. And then I'm adding a little bit of dark just for interest. I try to do darks and lights. I don't try to keep it all the same color. That's one reason I really love watercolor, is because you can vary the color with just water or just a tiny bit of another pigment. Watercolor has a mind of its own, but it also has so many wonderful properties. And now I'm going to mix a little bit of pink to do the line above the heart and flowers. I wanted it more pink than purple because I wanted it to have a little bit of a color pop right there. And I'm adding a little darker areas and little lighter areas, and I'll rinse my brush when I want a lighter area so that I have more water on the brush. So now I'm going to add a lighter pink to some areas of the flowers. So I'll be using that same light pink in different areas of a couple different flowers. And now I'm going to mix kind of a bluish purple to go on top. Just has a hint of blue in it. Just gives it a nice contrast from the other colors in the card already. I'm just trying to add enough paint to make it look good. I'm also using that same color in a couple of the flowers. I've gone back to painting a lighter purple color into some of the flowers. It's amazing what just a little bit of pink or a little bit of blue will change the whole look of a color. So what this card actually, using just one main color and getting variations of that color from different colors, makes you learn to use your watercolors a little better. Now I mixed this green with that blue purple simply because if I used bright green on this, it would look funny. So that blue purple color toned down the green a little and gave me kind of a soft green, which is perfect to go along with that purple. So if you want to tone a color down and make, because green is a contrast color of purple. So because I have to use it with the leaves, if I just add a little bit of a purple color to the green, it will make it flow better with the purple that I already had. Now I'm rinsing my brush with water and I'm lifting off color. So basically what you do is you rinse your brush, dry it off, and then go in and lift color before the leaf is dry. See how that just makes a good contrast there? Now I'm flipping it over and I'm going to start on the other side. I'm going to start with the leaves first so that I have that same color I had on the other leaves. I really like that color, so since it's sitting there, I'm going to go ahead and use it first. And I notice that I jump around from one leaf to the other without finishing things, but I think the reason I do that is I have a lot of paint on my brush and I want to take some off and I don't want to waste the paint. So I'll jump to a different area that needs green, and then that way I don't feel like I'm wasting paint. So I'm adding also, I added a little bit of the purple color directly to the darker green to tone that darker green down a little. And I'm painting the leaves, the darker ones are in the back. Right now I'm going and lifting the highlights off again. And I'll be adding darker green here to the background areas. And you notice how the dark really sets some of the areas way in the background. That's what you want it to do. So now I'm adding purple to the background. I've mixed this purple using a tiny bit of blue, but not as much as I had on the front of the card, on the lower half of the card. So I like the color, but I'm thinking that maybe it's a little too dull looking. So I'm going to actually add some texture to it with water first. And what you do with that is you dip your brush in water and then you just let the clear water make kind of a texture in the background. You see how I'm just touching clear water to the background, and now I'm mixed a lighter pink color and I'm doing that to it too. It just adds some texture. It's kind of, now I'm starting in the middle of the flowers like I did before using a lighter colored pink, and I'm going to use that throughout the flowers. I'm also going to be mixing lighter and darker tones of those colors as I go. This side I'm actually using a little bit more pinker tones. Here I'm going to make a light pink, just to give it, I know it's going to go over the top of that heart, so I don't want it to be real bold. I just want it to be soft. Now I'm going to continue painting the flowers with different shades of purples and pinks. I want a little bit of a contrast here, so I mixed a darker purple. I'm going to use that on the swirls. I'm going to also, once I get it, I'm going to add a little bit of dark purple to the edge. Also, it just helps with making a interesting image for people to look at. So adding different tones of colors into the design helps create interest. Here I'm finishing up the flowers, adding more purple tones to them. So I want to brighten things up a little bit, and I've actually mixed a really dark purpley pink. And I'm going to just accent some of the flowers with that color to give it more of a pop. So we're finishing up with the flowers here, and then I'm going to detail the card with gel pens. And this is new for this card. I noticed in my stash that I had these great kind of fluorescent, they're called Moon Glow, I believe, gel pens. So I'm just using two colors. This is Moonlit Pink, a white Sharpie, and Moonlit Rose. And I put a link on the blog for those colors. I'm also sharpening up a little bit of the black. The heart, I just want to be very contrasty, so I am sharpening up. The paint wasn't quite as transparent as I thought it was, so it had a little bit of white to it that I wanted to cover up. So now I'm just dotting on little details of that really pretty moon glow rose or moonlight rose. It's more of a light purple than anything. And I'm bringing back some areas that have been kind of lost. I'm adding stripes to this edge because I think it'd be fun to have a little bit of playfulness to the card on the edge there. So now I think I'm going to finish up with this color and switch over to the brighter pink as soon as I finish this flower. Well, I thought I was finished. One more flower. Okay, now I'm going to use the brighter pink to add some accents around the heart. Now, since this heart really hadn't dried very well, since I had that black pen on it, I had to clean off the pen tip a couple times. I should have waited probably a little longer to for the black to dry, but you can clean off the pen tips of these gel pens really easily. So now I'm adding just little bright details of that pink. And I want to make sure that I put some of the details on both sides of the card so that one side isn't stuck with just one color. And now I'm going to use the white to add some details. And this layering really does add a lot of depth to the card. And you're going to probably see that more when you see the actual card close up. Now I've flipped it over and I'm going to detail in the top part of the card using the moonlit rose. Okay, I'm switching to the brighter pink color, which is moonlit pink, moonlight pink. And I'm just adding little details around the flowers. So now I'm switching over to the white Sharpie pen. Remember, we'll still be adding some details with the glitter, clear glitter puffy paint and gold glitter puffy paint. So I don't want to I keep telling myself not to overdo it. And here's the clear puffy paint. And basically, whatever color that you've painted will show through this in the end after it dries. Until it dries, it'll look a little cloudy, but once it dries, it'll just be glitter over the top of whatever color that you've used under it. I usually glitter just one side of the leaves just because if it's two sides, it seems to be, you don't notice that there's a lot of glitter there. Now I'm putting in little details with the gold paint. I'm not going to do many details with it. It just adds a little extra to have the gold. Okay, and I'm starting with the gold on this side. I'm going to outline around the heart with it and then add a couple accents here and there. You know, you might want to take the time to think about where you're going to be putting the puffy paint and other colors before you lay it down. Now I'm adding the crystal glitter to this side. Only one side of the leaves, but this side of the card. So the card is dried, and I'm going to mark where I need to cut the heart so that it will make a flap. It'll tuck behind the flap. So I made a mark with the pink pen, and I'm going to cut around from the pink mark to the pink mark. I'm going to cut around the heart. So after tucking the heart over top of the swirl, I noticed that it doesn't really lay flat. So I need to cut this one edge a little bit more so that the heart will lay flat when the card is tucked behind. So I just make a little cut, make sure that it is actually cut through. And there you have your finished card.